Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Juicebox podcast.
My name's Carly. I am originally from Canada. I've been in Texas for just over 3 years, and I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 40.
Nothing you hear on the Juicebox podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan. AG1 is offering my listeners a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, and 5 free travel packs in your first box. So make sure you check out drinkag1.com/juicebox to get this offer. Don't forget to save 40% off of your entire order at CozyEarth.com. All you have to do is use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout. That's JUICEBOX at checkout to save 40% at CozyEarth.com. Are you an adult living with type 1 or the caregiver of someone who is, and a U.S. resident? If you are, I'd love it if you would go to t1dexchange.org/juicebox and take the survey. When you complete that survey, your answers are used to move type 1 diabetes research of all kinds. t1dexchange.org/juicebox. The show you're about to listen to is sponsored by the Eversense 365. The Eversense 365 has exceptional accuracy over 1 year and is the most accurate CGM in the low range that you can get. eversensecgm.com/juicebox. Omnipod 5 sponsored this episode of the Juicebox podcast. Learn more and get started today at omnipod.com/juicebox. Links in the show notes, links at juiceboxpodcast.com.
My name's Carly. I am originally from Canada. I've been in Texas for just over 3 years, and I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 40. It was a happy 40th birthday present for me.
Right around your birthday?
So my birthday is October. The symptoms, I was diagnosed in February, but the symptoms definitely started popping up like late November, early December. Oh. So, yeah. And the other story is my husband, he was married before to a type 1 diabetic, and he proposed to me on my 40th birthday, and then I got diabetes a month later. So it's basically all his fault.
Have we had his penis tested?
I know.
Is it possibly him?
I've asked, but he refuses.
Oh, so. No. I think we should do a scraping of skin cells and then send them off. So I don't know the technical dues it's behind how we figure out if his penis is causing type 1 diabetes in women, but I think it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you let him cheat on you to see if the next girl gets type 1?
Next girl. No, it'd be up for... He'd actually, yeah. Well, he'd probably be, okay, fine, that's an experiment. I'll take it.
Carly, I love you, but if this is what you need.
Yep. The sacrifices I have to do for my wife.
Can I pick the girl? How does this work?
Yeah.
Okay. So, wow. Do you have any other autoimmune in your life, like in your extended family or you personally?
So myself personally, no, I've got a bunch of random weird health stuff that's always... Generally, when I get sick, I get really sick. It tends to be my strategy. My mom has... Yeah.
That's the funniest way anyone's ever said it.
Yeah. I had a perforated ulcer when I was 15, shingles in my 30s, dealing with cancer now. So
wait, seriously?
I've got an old man heart disease. So.
Wait, hold on. You have heart disease?
I have, it's called an aortic heart dissection. So I've got a weird tear in my heart.
Carly, we have to figure this out. And what kind of cancer? Are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm going through, so it's basically the cancer is like a melanoma. So I did immunotherapy for a year, had a bunch of lymph nodes taken out of my armpits like a year and a half ago. Thought that was all done. And then basically kind of on like 2 weeks after I rang the bell, a new thing popped up, which was latent from the original stuff. And so they actually ended up doing a live herpes virus into the spot to kill it. Mm-hmm. So, and then that was kind of working. And then I was going to get that cut out. And then within those scans, they found a new variant. So now I'm on some chemo drugs and had more surgery. And yeah, that's
I want to find out how that affects your type 1, but not before I say this. How many of these things have happened to you since Penis Boy touched you?
almost all of them.
Motherfucker.
Almost all, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Like the perforated ulcer when I was 15, I can't blame him on that. But
Yeah. Everything else.
Yeah. We were definitely dating when I got shingles.
Yeah. No, I feel like this is him.
Everything else has happened post him. So
You're from the what they call the Great White North, but is he?
correct. He is, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys moved together into the States.
Yeah. During COVID, his company shut down like their Canadian office. So he moved here in 2020 and we spent a year apart trying to figure out who was going to quit their job. We both felt like there was probably more opportunity for both of us down here.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I followed about a year later.
Healthiest year of your life?
Yeah.
No, I'm being serious.
Well, like outside of like all the major diseases, like, yeah, generally like I'm super active and like that's basically like I've never been one that got to sleep lots and I've been sleeping, workout, eat some more, workout, sleep is pretty much it.
I just didn't know if it was like a moldy house that you didn't realize had mold in it. Like you walked out of it for a year and you're like, wow, everything tastes fresher all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then he came back and you're like,
Yeah.
Jeez. All right. Well, listen, let's not make fun of the poor guy. But hey, you two aren't going to make a baby though, right?
No,
Okay.
we're both, we're too old. So
Sorry.
yeah.
Would you if you were younger?
It was definitely up for debate. Like I've also had kind of issues on that standpoint. So I always kind of wanted kids when I was younger, and it just kind of wasn't quite in the cards. And yeah, we have a great life now, and I'm very, very happy with with our life together. So,
Not in the cards, like your lady bits don't work right, or just like that know.
I could get pregnant, but could never hold a pregnancy.
Oh.
So that was,
I'm sorry. I'm
it
sorry.
was what it was. So,
Geez, you took all the fun out of it. Never mind. Okay.
I know. Sorry.
Hey, everybody just found my line, Carly. I was like, they're like, oh, he choked right through cancer, but he got to miscarriage and it shut him right down. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, that was it. That was it.
Now you all know my line. Okay. So what is it? Well, geez. So how many years have you had diabetes for? Not long.
So it will be 8 years in February.
Oh, you're almost my age.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you've had it for 8 years. And in those 8 years, you haven't found any other family members with autoimmune stuff or type 1? My daughter is 20 years old. I can't even believe it. She was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when she was 2, and she put her first insulin pump on when she was 4. That insulin pump was an Omnipod, and it's been an Omnipod every day since then. That's 16 straight years of wearing Omnipod. It's been a friend to us, and I believe it could be a friend to you. Omnipod.com/juicebox. Whether you get the Omnipod Dash or the automation that's available with the Omnipod 5, you are going to enjoy tubeless insulin pumping. You're going to be able to jump into a shower or a pool or a bathtub without taking off your pump. That's right, you will not have to disconnect to bathe with an Omnipod. You also won't have to disconnect to play a sport or to do anything where a regular tube pump has to come off. Arden has been wearing an Omnipod for 16 years. She knows other people that wear different pumps, and she has never once asked the question, should I be trying a different pump? Never once. Omnipod.com/juicebox. Get a pump that you'll be happy with forever. When you think of a CGM and all the good that it brings in your life, is the first thing you think about, I love that I have to change it all the time? I love the warm-up period every time I have to change it. I love that when I bump into a door frame, sometimes it gets ripped off. I love that the adhesive kind of gets mushy sometimes when I sweat and falls off. No, these are not the things that you love about a CGM. Today's episode of the Juicebox podcast is sponsored by the Eversense 365, the only CGM that you only have to put on once a year, and the only CGM that won't give you any of those problems. The Eversense 365 is the only one-year CGM designed to minimize device frustration. It has exceptional accuracy for 1 year with almost no false alarms from compression lows while you're sleeping. You can manage your diabetes instead of your CGM with the Eversense 365. Learn more and get started today at eversensecgm.com/juicebox. 1 year, 1 CGM.
So my mom's got hyperthyroidism, and actually something that I never, I just only recently learned was autoimmune is, I keep wanting to say eczema, but eczema. My sister's had eczema her entire life. So that would be the only other.
So thyroid eczema type 1.
Yeah.
And then just you randomly getting sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody else that you're related to just have that? Like what people would call like bad health luck?
Well, yeah. My dad passed away from ALS about 10 years ago. So no, 15 years ago. So
I'm sorry. Jeez.
Very bad health luck.
Yeah, that is bad health luck. Yeah. I think anything that happens to you that ends up with you dead is definitely bad luck. Oh, well, that sucks. That feels terrible to me. Oh my gosh. Do you have brothers and sisters? You do. You have one sister.
Thanks. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Okay.
One sister. Yeah. Okay. She's 15 months younger.
Gotcha. You're diagnosed 8 years ago. You're in the States when it happens. You're in Canada.
I was in Canada. Yeah.
How do they start you off your treatments?
Not so. Yeah. I guess that was kind of one of the things, just listening to the differences between the different countries. But so I was in Alberta. Like every province has their own healthcare system. So I'm guessing someone in Ontario is going to have a little bit different experience than someone in Alberta. But basically, I was wasting away. I was about 20 pounds lighter than I should be. I had zero energy. I was trying to get to my family doctor, who was part of a walk-in clinic, and had an appointment in March, and that was 3 months was as soon as I could get in to see her, and just kept feeling worse and worse and worse. And so kind of went into the walk-in clinic where my doctor was, and the lady who saw me, and I don't blame her, because I think a lot of people come and say, I don't feel well, and it's just you don't take care of yourself, you're whatever. I'm like, no, but I'm super active. I know my body. I'm definitely not doing well. But I kind of go in, and she's like, well, you're seeing your doctor in a month. Can you wait? I'm like, I don't think I can anymore. And she's like, well, you did just turn 40. Things slow down. I'm like, well, it's not like I turned 40 and my entire body decided to shut down. So she sent me for some blood tests. And the next day she calls me and she's like, you need to go to emergency right now. Kind of in Canadian numbers, my blood sugar was 35 or something like that, which is...
I can figure it out for you while you're talking. Go ahead, you talk, I'll figure.
Yeah. So she's like, you need to go to emergency right now. Kind of left the office, went to emerge, spent about 6 or 7 hours in emergency waiting to see someone. So finally they're like, yeah, you've got diabetes. You've got type 2 diabetes, just because of my age. You're over 40, so it must be type 2. And I'm you can see my veins in all my body. Popping out. I don't know about...
Everything I seem to know about type 2 diabetes says I shouldn't be wasting away like this if it's happening.
Yeah.
Also, it took him 3 months to see you too, huh? That's very Canadian.
Yeah. Very. Very.
Sucks.
So he sent me away with a prescription for metformin, and then ended with referral to see the endocrinologist a week. So this was a Friday. So the soonest I could get in was a week later to see an endocrinologist. So we spent that weekend basically my husband is 6'4" and played rugby. So, close to 300 pounds. And we're walking around, we went and saw a few friends that weekend, and he's basically walking in the door going, guess who has type 2 diabetes? And he was all excited because it wasn't him and it was me. So kind of spent a week on metformin.
Carly, if he ever breaks up with you, be careful if he walks in the room and yells, everybody who's dating me, raise your hand.
Yeah. Exactly. So I spent a week on metformin. That was kind of all I had, and no equipment, no nothing, kind of not much guidance beyond that. And so I went and saw kind of my endocrinologist on the Friday, and I walked in and she's like, you are not type 2 diabetic. She's like, you are type 1. We're going to get you in to see the dietitian right now and stuff. So kind of I went and saw a dietitian. They showed me how to do insulin shots in the moment. And she said, come back and see me in a week. And they just put me on long acting for the first week just to kind of, get used to it. And so, so started finger pricking and long lasting for a week, and then saw her that next week and she put me on.
Listen, it wouldn't be hard and fast, I don't think. But if I saw you with a 35 blood sugar, which by the way is 630 over here in America, I think I'd have a really difficult time thinking this is just type 2 diabetes. Also,
Yeah.
Not that your body weight has, that people can be thin and have type 2 diabetes. Like, that's not my point. But like, you got to think you can start adding the things up, like the losing weight. Like, did you have other symptoms? Were you going to the bathroom a lot?
Oh, yeah. Like it was where it first showed up. I grew up competitive swimming, so I always know when I'm getting sick when I'm swimming, like, because I'll feel bad before I actually feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of popped up in December where like my energy levels were really low and stuff. And didn't really notice the weight loss until kind of maybe a couple weeks before I went in, where I was like, oh, wait, like I put on a pair of jeans. I'm like, these are falling off me. Like I would do a bike class kind of a group on Saturday mornings. And my husband's also a very good cook, steak and pasta kind of Friday nights. And I would show up on Saturday mornings, generally like hungover and like super dehydrated, and always joking with a buddy that my husband was trying to kill me. I just be like sweating salt and stuff like that.
Carly, you're so Canadian.
So like it was, so lots of thirst, getting up in the middle of the night. He definitely infections and stuff like that were popping up and wouldn't go away. And so like you look back on it, but like it was the energy level. Like again, I'll do something active probably two times a day, and like, I'd go for a coffee in the morning from the office, and just to walk a block just felt like that was
too much.
Yeah.
Hey, things degraded the way we would expect, but for some reason a doctor looks at you and says you have type 2. You see an endocrinologist a week later after a week of metformin. You probably lost more weight, I'm imagining. And luckily you're not dead, but you're in DKA, aren't you not?
If I was, they didn't tell me.
Okay. So the endo puts you on the long acting for a little while to get used to it. By the way, why couldn't they should have put you in the hospital is my point.
Yeah. No, they sent me home that night.
Yeah. This will probably be fine. Give yourselves one of these a day while you acclimate to it. And then we'll talk again. Like acclimate to, oh my God.
Yep.
So you live through that, obviously. You go back in a week. What happens?
So they put me on normal, so kind of fast acting and long lasting. And, I see the dietitian, or I get a diabetes nurse that I kind of have to go and see her for like once a week for, I think, about 3 weeks to kind of make sure I'm kind of getting the hang of it.
Yeah.
And then I see the endo, I think about 3 months later. And then after that, I'm on a 1-year rotation with the endo. And that's about it for my care.
Are you carb counting right away, or are you doing sliding scale? Which province? Oh, excuse me. You're messing me up.
They did. Yeah. They got me on carb counting right away. Well, yeah. So I've got one friend that, two of his 3 children had type 1 diabetes. And I actually I think that first Saturday after I'd been diagnosed, I showed up. He was also part of this CompuTrainer class, showed up, and I kind of just said, I've been diagnosed with diabetes. And Stu looked at me and he said, he's like, there's 2 things I know about this disease. It's a numbers disease and it's a routine disease. And he's like, if I know 2 things about you, he's like, you love your routine and you love numbers. So he's like, you're going to kick ass at this and you'll be fine. But he definitely helped me gave me a little bit more direction on kind of carb counting and, how they
kind of gave you a leg up on things and got you going. I have to tell you, this lag just saved me, because you said, I have a friend whose kids have diabetes, and my brain wanted to say, oh God, your husband wasn't near those kids, was he? And I knew how wrong that was. And the lag gave me time to think about it. And so I didn't say it. Now I'm taking credit for not saying it, as I've posthumously said it anyway. I find that both not funny at all and hilarious, in case you're all looking for an insight into my sense of humor.
Yep. Well, I get it.
Yeah. No, I was like, the only thing that stopped me was lag. I was like, oh, I don't want to talk over when I say my stupid stuff. Anyway, let's assume those kids were over 18, so that what I just said feels okay.
Yeah, they are now. They are now. Yeah, for sure.
Or were then, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, your husband had nothing to do with that.
Nothing. No, not on this one. So.
But I mean, it is fair to say his ex-wife and you both have type 1 diabetes. So, I'm just saying. Oh my God. Yeah, he should probably wear a condom constantly. I think so. I don't know what he's got down there, but I don't think it's good. So
it's dangerous. Whatever it is, it's dangerous.
It's dangerous. That's right. Oh, there's no way to call this Canadian danger penis, is there?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know what your safeguards are allowed. So
I think Apple won't let me do that. It's a shame, because God damn it, that'd be awesome. So, okay. So you get a little help from a friend. You get not a lot of direction from healthcare. Does healthcare ever step in for you and become more valuable, or do you just freewheel it on your own and figure it out?
Kind of freewheeled on my own. Like people, like I really liked my endocrinologist, but I think just the system is too, like it's the way that, like it is definitely the difference. Both systems have their issues, but like the one thing I've really noticed in the States, and I'm getting more appreciation kind of on the cancer side of things, is like because it's a business, there's some customer service aspects down here.
Okay.
Whereas in Canada, like it's like there's no incentive to go above and beyond, and you're kind of getting paid for like who you see, and like anything extra is not even that there's not compensation, but like they're overworked, underpaid, and don't have the capacity to do it. But yeah, like I would see my endo once a year. She's like, "You're doing great." Like my A1Cs at the time was low sevens, which she was like, "It's a little high, but you're super active, so I'm not worried about you. Like your weight's steady, all of that kind of stuff. So here's a prescription for the next year. Off you go, and we'll see you in a year."
Yeah.
So
it's a shame. It's funny as I'm sitting here, like it's election day in America while you and I are doing this. It just occurred to me, I mean, out of nowhere, almost crazy, that you could listen to this podcast, not know me, and be like, Scott's got some really weird right-wing fringe ideas. Like he's always talking about how doctors aren't blah, blah, blah and everything. And I'm like, and I don't really give away my politics on here or how I lean really, but I don't feel that way. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't have like the whole world's out to get me. This is all a conspiracy. No one's working on a cure because there's more money. Like I don't think like that. And by the way, if you do, I don't give a shit. Like, it's fine with me. But I find myself talking that way because of all the conversations that people have coming in here. Like if you go back to the first year of the podcast, all you would hear me say is like, look, I didn't get a lot of direction from my doctors and I figured this out and here's what I figured out and here it is. You can just do whatever you want with it. Right. But I don't know how many people have to come on and say this stuff before you just go, wow, like, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's ladies in Canada. Like I hear from people I just interviewed a woman in, what the hell was she the other day? You don't know because it was just me and her, but I think I was interviewing a woman from Bahrain. How does a woman from Bahrain find a podcast made by a guy in New Jersey? Because the people there aren't helping her. And like, you know what I mean? And everywhere in between, if I pulled up a map of where this podcast is like vigorously listened to, the answer is almost everywhere. Yeah. This is also not to say that some of you don't have like awesome doctors who like on day one sat down and talked to you like, bang, here it is. Let me lay it out for you. And you just walked out of there with a 5.5 A1C because you know what you're doing. That absolutely happens. But clearly, I interview a person at least 5 days a week. And overwhelmingly, this is how the stories go. And I know people don't come on the internet to tell people how good things go, all the time, but maybe more people should. So if you're listening to this and you're like, hey, it's not balanced, well, then come on and be balanced about it. But all I can tell you is that a lot of people that come on and tell me this, like, hey, Scott, I know who you are because my doctor did not fundamentally help me. So sucks is all. Well,
and on the other side, like, they're here, like, 3 months. Like we've only spent 15.
Well, Carly, did you go to the wrong part of the house again?
I'm with me, but she made me cry.
Carly, you can't hear me, can you?
Oh, I can. Yes.
Now, okay. Did you go to the wrong part of the house? What just happened?
Maybe. All right.
Are you moving?
No, I was sitting very still.
Because when I talk on the phone, I wander around my house aimlessly when I'm on the phone. I like clean toilets. I put laundry in. Like I sweep floors. People are like, what are you doing? Sometimes I have to say to people while I'm on phone calls, hey, in a second, you're going to hear me flush the toilet. It's not because I just used it, I promise. It's because I cleaned it while we were talking. I'm going to try this. Yeah, try something else. Maybe put your Wi-Fi back on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first, I've just tried a different room, which is going to be a little bit more, I don't know if that's echoey, but.
You have a tinfoil hat that you can wear? That might help. So I made my big pronouncement and I said, it sucks really. You started talking. I literally couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Okay. So yeah, just on the endocrinologist side, like the first one I found here, she was actually quite involved with my diabetes she basically made me cry every time I left the office.
But Carly, how does that happen? What does she say that that makes you upset?
Well, I was, before coming down to the States, I was just on MBI, and so saw her for a while, and she's like, you need to get on a pump. You need to get on a pump. I'm like, okay, fine. Like, I want to. So kind of sorting out, trying to understand insurance and all that kind of stuff. And, with the insurance that we had with my husband's company at the time, I was just covered for Omnipod, and the 5 was coming out. So I'm like, well, this is supposed to be the newest technology. Like, why don't I just wait until it's out? Started on the 5, and I'm like maybe 2 weeks into it. First time ever on a pump. And I walk into the office, and she's like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't understand how to read any of this information. This is not helpful. Like, I didn't even know this was out. Like, what's going on? And she's yelling at me.
Wait, so she told you to get on a pump. You got on a pump, and she's like, "Nah, it's this pump, you fucking idiot."
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, this is how the stories happen, people. Just keep listening. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that was kind of where I'm like, okay, yeah, it's time to leave her. So kind of got a new PCP, or found a PCP, and she referred me to a new endo. I really quite like her. But again, like, I see her every 3-4 months, and, we spend 10-15 minutes together. But just even the difference, because like the Canadian, and this could have changed, like, I apologize to Dexcom if it has changed, but the Canadian app versus the US app, like the Canadian app, the doctors didn't have the ability to download all of your information.
Okay.
So like, you would go get your blood test, and they would just see your A1C, and like that was the information they had, and that was it. Where so even just the fact that, like, when my endo walks in, even if she only spent 5 minutes looking at my information, she at least has a sense of what's going on with me, and and like, so there is some kind of service around that level. But like on the cancer side too, like, I'm blown away at the care that I'm getting, and like my access to doctors, and just one of the reasons that I was quite sure if I was still in Canada, I might not even been diagnosed at all, and definitely would not have. A lot of the stuff that has been caught would have gone unnoticed, just because of the way the system is set up there versus it is here. Like, there's something about the customer service, like where it is a business that you're trying to bring people back, that my brother-in-law had some kind of like, just had some skin cancer stuff, and he went in, they treated it, and they said, like, hopefully we never see you again. And like, there's no preventative care to follow up or like anything like that. It's just like, off you go and good luck. Whereas here, it's like, I'm still getting, you're getting scans every 3 months just to make sure nothing new is popping up. And like, there's a better sense of, and with her, it could be just because, kind of conspiracy people, well, it's a business, they want to bring you in, like, they're trying to make money, like, that's, I don't care because they're trying to take care of me. So
do you think that, like, it feels like doctors helping you with cancer are more on the ball because what they're doing is segmented, already understood, like there's steps they're taking? We're going to do this, then we're going to take a scan. If the scan says this, we'll do that. Like, it's much more if this, then that, because it's planned out. Whereas diabetes probably has a lot of variables that the doctors aren't aware of.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that, but that does make, again, with like cancer, like, you're kind of supposed to be kind of cured or whatever, and like, but it can come back. And so whereas with diabetes, I guess, yeah, like, you have it and it's not going away. So there's less need for follow-up is the right word. But I guess that's a very good point.
Yeah, I just wonder if that's it. And it feels like it's going well because you're alive. So you're like, well, if there was a CGM for your cancer and you could see it bouncing around or whatever, I wonder if you would be like, well, they're trying their hardest, but it's not going as good as I wanted it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a, I don't know. It's a hard thing to quantify, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It sucks. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, in the end, you're asking a human being to, like, go to college, get an undergrad degree, go off to medical school, do the whole thing, absorb as much as they can, probably go into a specialty, learn as much as they can about the specialty. Probably while they're learning about the specialty, the stuff they're learning is probably outdated.
Yeah.
And then you come into a room and all the other stuff's going on, the human interaction stuff, insurance or time or whatever. And they've got to look at you, make an assessment, say a thing based out of the knowledge in their head. And it's either right or it's wrong. And you go forward and see if you're lucky enough to, to do it. I think with diabetes, when they tell you the wrong thing, it's so obvious right away.
Yeah.
That you can say, well, the thing that person said to me was not helpful. And then they know that's the deal. And so then I think they throw their hands up and they think, oh, they'll figure it out. Like that vibe. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of stories in between, but it just kind of feels that way to me sometimes.
Yeah. No, I like that. Yeah.
You like that? Yeah. I don't know. I just think it's human.
Yeah.
I honestly think that if you stop talking about, I don't know, diabetes or cancer or health right now and just shift it over to anything else and tried to have a conversation about it, you'd start having the same exact conversation.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So,
and it's person to person dependent too, right? Like it's even kind of, I would think of this kind of like work from home stuff that popped up post COVID, right? Now companies are pulling back on that. And there's, like there's people that like, it's work from home, but I'm still working. And then you have people like, oh, I'm going to take advantage of this system. And like, it's kind of that, some employees are good at it, some employees aren't. And it's, I would assume kind of the medical system and the doctors and everyone else out there is the same. Like, kind of people's motivations different, or
people are a mixed bag.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah. Right. And they have their variables.
You can find the good ones, you can find the bad ones.
Yeah.
So.
And they have their variables too, right? There's like, it's easy to say like, oh, I don't know, David doesn't do good working from home, but you don't know if David's kids are sick or his wife is yelling at him constantly, or he's yelling at her constantly and she's running around hiding from, like, I don't know, like they might have a lot of family problems. And then he's working from home, and then it's, oh, David doesn't do a good job from home. Or maybe David's at home, with his phone in one hand watching a YouTube video and, looking at Twitch with the other hand, and that's why he's not getting anything done.
Yeah.
You don't know what the reasons are that things happen. But at the same time, there's going to be as many just lazy people as there are people who are just not in a good situation. And you just never know why what's happening is happening. Like, it's easy to think like, oh, my doctor's an idiot. He doesn't care. He's not trying to help me. Or maybe that's not the case at all. Like maybe your doctor's sick, or maybe your doctor's, getting divorced, or like, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things going on in people's lives. In the end, none of this matters because this is what ends up happening. Listen, if you really look at diabetes, like over a timeline, go back to 1915 as an example, and you get diabetes and you die eventually, right? They were doing starvation diets to try to keep people alive, like that kind of stuff. Worked sometimes for some people. Insulin comes out, they shoot people with insulin. Hey, I'm alive, right? Insulin gets better. I'm sure these people who were saved by insulin in 1928, for example, didn't live till they were 79, 90 years old, like, right? But it saved their life in the meantime. Then, what comes next? Pork, beef, regular MPH. Like you start going through that timeline there. And every time I talk to somebody who lived through one of those timelines, it came with its own challenges. And then it gets better every time the insulin gets better. And then it gets better when pumps come out. And then it gets better when testing is better. And it gets better when CGMs come out. And it gets better when algorithms come out. But what we're counting on through this whole thing is technology, either biological or mechanical technology, to make diabetes better. At no point during this process do I hear anybody telling me, oh, I was diagnosed in 1965, but I'm still alive now. And let me tell you how much better my doctor got during this time. No one ever tells that story, right? In my mind, what we're waiting for is technology to be able to mimic better the ability to take in information, absorb it, consider it, apply it towards everything the world knows about health and type 1 diabetes, and then regurgitate the correct answer. I think we're waiting for AI.
Yeah.
That's where I think a leap in doctoring is going to finally come from. Not because doctors are bad people, or they're not trying, or they don't take it seriously, or they don't care about me, or there's, insurance, they got everybody in there. It's the limitations of their little like noodle, their thinking thing. Like that, it's not because they're dumb, it's because we're human. Yeah.
Well, and in the end, we're human. Like doctors can only give us so much information, and I could have the best doctor in the world. It's going to be like, no more than anyone have like the best advice. And if I don't take that home and listen, like, in the end, it's still like me that has to figure out like what my body's doing and why it does it, why it reacts this way when, I'm doing this. And like, in the end, like we have to take some responsibility ourselves. Like it sucks that, you hope that you could be able to kind of go and see a doctor and they should give you the right guidance. But in the end, it's like,
Yeah.
we still need to go and figure out what's best for us. And
even that perspective is like, we have to go home and do something with it. That gives that you understood it.
yeah.
It's not just about like the doctor telling you the right thing to do. It's about them telling you in a way that you can absorb. And now you're a different person. Some people are visual learners. Some people don't want to read. They want to, some people want it told to them. Like, how the hell are we supposed to get this straight? Do you know what I mean? But like,
yeah,
like I've already done an episode or two. I'm not saying it's perfect or anything like that, but I've had people come on who have had like medical issues that they're like, I don't know what's going on with me. And I was like, why don't we just sit down and keep asking AI? Like, why don't we keep telling the AI about you and then ask it what might be the problem? And it gives back, like, I don't know if it's right or not, but it gives back reasonable ideas to look into that I don't know that everybody would think to look into.
Yeah.
I know it's not perfect right now, and I don't know if it'll ever be perfect. I'm not saying it will be or anything like that, but at least it can hear what you said, remember all the things that you told it. My name is Carly. I'm this tall. I weigh this much. I've got this kind of cancer and that kind of cancer. I've got this kind of this and I've got that. And I have type 1 diabetes. And and it's possible that somebody with a magic wand is trying to kill me. And, because I
don't call it magic. That goes right to his head.
Which head? Now listen.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at me. We'll get the Canadian out of you yet.
Yeah.
Now the AI it's remembered those things that you've told it. Now, here are my symptoms. What do you see here? Like, here's who I am. Here's my, here's my measurables. Here's what I know is wrong with me. Here's what I'm, experiencing. Lay it out for me here. What do you think could be going on? What could I try first to try to impact these things? And then let an intelligence, that has access to the internet, which should have access to everything that doctors learned. And if it doesn't, someone's going to do it. And you know what I mean? Like, I think your doctor in a pocket. Listen, I said this to my wife a couple of years ago, and she fought with me a little bit about it. But I said, I think one day doctors will be technicians and not the clinician. I think the AI will be the clinician and the doctor will be the human there to go over everything to make sure it makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I don't think surgery right away, but
no.
You know what I mean? Although there are some robot surgery tools that are awesome, but they're usually very specific to one surgery that they do.
Yeah.
But that to me makes the most sense. Like, where's the limitation of doctors? It's their inability to keep all of the necessary information in their head and then compute it and spit out an answer.
Well, to your point earlier, like, what they're learning, like, stuff is changing so much and like,
yeah,
so quickly that like what they learned even a few years ago might be irrelevant and they might not know it's relevant, right? Like it's so.
Or what about new literature, new testing, this stuff that comes up constantly? Like, I had a lady reach out to me this morning and, like, listen, let's be clear. First of all, I'm a podcaster. Okay. Like, and she's, she sends to me, she's like, look, I know you're not a doctor. I know this isn't medical advice, but my 3-year-old has diabetes, but only has this specific antibody and blah, blah, blah. And, isn't using much insulin. He's getting stem cell treatments. Like the family's doing a lot, trying to keep this diabetes at bay. And she says to me, do you think a GLP medication would help him? And I'm like, I'm reading this and I'm like, and if she's listening, it's cool that you reached out to me and everything, but I'm thinking like, it's 9:00 in the morning, lady. And I didn't go to medical school. Like, I don't know. And my assumption now is that she's been listening to the podcast and heard a couple of people's stories about using GLPs and their insulin needs going significantly down. But I asked her that and she hadn't heard those episodes.
Oh.
Now, side note, Carly, that made me sad because I would like it if you all listened to all the podcasts. But I got past that part pretty quickly and I sent off an episode and I said, hey, listen, here's an episode with this 15-year-old girl who's using a GLP and she's like barely using any insulin now. She had type 1 for like 3 years. She's using a ton of insulin. Like something's working for her. It's not going to, it's not curing her, obviously. And I'm assuming at some point in her life, this is going to, ratchet up. But this has been going on a while now and everything. So she's like, I'll go listen to that. But Scott, what would you do if it was your kid? And so I'm like, look, listen, also, I'm not a doc. I don't give people medical advice. Like I can't answer this question, but you got a lady here. She don't know what to do and she's grasping at straws. Right. And I don't know if this ends up working for her kid or not, but obviously at the lowest dose it's available in a measured pen, I'm assuming would be insanely too much for a person that size, right? And I don't know the reasons why or why not you wouldn't give it to a kid. Like, I don't know any of this, right? So I tell her all that. I'm like, I have no idea about any of this. I really don't know. But I would wonder too if I was you. Like, is there like a micro dose of this medication that would help? And then I said to her the lamest thing, you should ask your doctor. And when I said that, I thought, she's going to go ask a doctor who is going to just have heard like the side effects from GLP from 2 years ago on the internet and go, you can't give that to them. Give them liver disease and shut off their guts are going to twist up in a, like, you know what I mean? Like, so I ended up saying, why don't you send this episode to the doctor and let them listen to it? See if you can spark their imagination to go ask questions and find out. Because I don't know, like, would the tiniest little bit of that stuff, like, do something for the kid? Would it hold off their diabetes? Like, would it like lessen the impact on the kid's beta cells? Would it stretch things out? I don't know. But you know who definitely is not going to know? Her doctor.
Her doctor, yeah.
And so she was put in the ironic position of thinking to herself, it's possible a podcaster will have more up-to-date thoughts on this than my physician will. Now, I'm not saying that's a good idea. I'm not saying you should be coming to me before your doctor. I genuinely am not saying that. I want to be very clear. But like, it puts her in that position to wonder that.
Yeah.
And if AI had access to everything that was happening in the world, and it could consider those things, you know, like testing and, you know, stories and, you know, anecdotal and whatnot, and it might be able to come back and just say to her like, hey, you know what, don't do that. Or I wonder what, maybe the AI would come back and go, hey, you do have to wonder what would happen if we just gave the kid like the teeniest little bit of this. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? But I don't, that's what I think you're waiting for, is you're waiting for something to aggregate information, be able to hold it, understand who you are, and regurgitate reasonable things to look into.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah. Because it ain't going to happen. And it's definitely not going to happen in Canada. No. I mean,
no.
I try not to make a big deal out of it because I feel like some people are like, oh, see, he's agreeing that socialized medicine's a bad thing. But it takes way too long to go to see a doctor in Canada.
Yeah.
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 It just,
and it's like, in all honesty, like when I was in, and I remember like when I got diagnosed, I was talking to a coworker and I was like, well, yeah, like I always had a very negative view of the US system. Like, well, you know, you should go bankrupt and, you know, whatever, like, just how is this not just part of like your, you know, everyone should have decent healthcare, right? And yeah, I get diagnosed and I have access to a nurse and I immediately get an endocrinologist and stuff. And then I come down here and it's like, oh, like both systems again have their issues, but if you have insurance here, like the level of care you're getting is exponentially better. You know, like, so like it's, yeah, like neither system is perfect, but
yeah,
the Canadian system, like having access doesn't necessarily mean you're being taken care of.
Right. Yeah. Right. Access to people 3 months later. And you know, we're longer. I know other Canadians and they come in with reasonable concerns, but the doctor's like, well, that's not going to kill you. We'll see you in a year. And I'm not making that up. Like I've had people tell me, I had low iron, took them nearly a year to see a doctor, and it's low iron that needed like intervention, not like a vitamin.
Yeah.
I mean, a year is a long time to live exhausted.
Yeah.
When it's not necessary, because I had that happen to me and I pressured a doctor and 4 days later I had an iron infusion. And guess what? I felt better in 2 weeks. Like, so somebody else has got to wait 12 months. To your point, what exists here that doesn't exist there? It's the carrot at the end of the stick. It's money. It's like, you want to get paid, you get my ass in there and you fix my low iron problem.
Yeah.
You know? So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, like, I'll use my sister. Like, so my sister, over her lifetime, she's had like, it's happened 3 or 4 times where she's just stood up and she's just passed out. And the last time it happened, she knocked her head, got a pretty bad concussion. And so they finally ran it like, well, we'll run some tests and stuff. And so they're like, well, we think you have epilepsy. And so she goes and does the test. Like it takes her 3 or 4 months to get the test, another 3 or 4 months to get the results. And like, it's inconclusive. So we need you to run another test. So it takes another 3 months. takes another 3 months to get the results. So like she's over a year into this. And they're sitting there going, if you have epilepsy, we're going to you're going to lose your driver's license. But because we don't know, off you go, live your normal life. But it was basically like, it took them almost 2 years and maybe 4 or 5 appointments in total for her to be diagnosed as like, it's inconclusive. So we're just going to leave it. But
all of that. And the answer was,
just even
wear a helmet. I mean, like, is that like, yeah.
Exactly. And she first told me she had epilepsy. I looked up for ways to or things to do to take care of yourself. And one was like, maybe wear a helmet. So
did somebody really say that?
I sent her a picture of what.
Wait, you said that to her?
Well, I said that to her.
You and I would get along.
Helmet for Christmas.
Yeah. You and I would get along. I see this.
Yeah.
To me, the horrible part about the story isn't that they couldn't come up with an answer. Like, I accept that they can't always find an answer. It's the amount of time it took them to not come up with an answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part that kind of pisses me off. Like, how much time has to go by for you to go, oh, sorry. Like, do you know how demoralizing that is?
Yeah. Well, just the fear of, she's 45 years old. Like, when am I going to be able, like, I've been driving for almost 30 years. Like, you're going to take this away from me. And like, what does that do for my job and my kids? And like, kind of stuff just hung over her for almost 2 years. And then to be like, not sure. So we're just going to leave it.
Anyway, good luck. Thanks for coming. Yeah. Hey, get yourself a Timbit on the way home.
Yeah.
My God. That's a donut hole, right?
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, goddamn right. Yeah. You call it something fancy, but it's the middle of the donut. Yeah. Like, try to act like you made something up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have you ever tapped a tree and taken syrup right out of it? Yes or no?
I did. I was at a water polo tournament nationals long time ago, and they were in Montreal, and so we went and we did do that. So
I know it. Any stupid thing I ever say to people, they've done. So
yeah, I know. Only once though. Only once.
I only do that so that people who think that generalizing is bad go, maybe it's not. Like, every dumb thing he says to people, like, oh, that definitely happens. Go back to the Canadian episode where the girl she's a can dancer in the Yukon. It's an awesome episode.
Oh, hilarious.
And I say something to her about like working at the bar that I know people were like, oh, stop reaching for. She goes, yep. And I'm like, yeah, I win again. Anyway, what do you have here in your notes about diabetes versus cancer? What do you want to talk about revolving around that idea?
That was interesting. I first reached out about that, like, because it was kind of like this, if I could have one over the other, and cancer's looking like it's more chronic and not going away either. But if I could get rid of one, I would get rid of diabetes, because it's
still
it's because it's all consuming, right? Like, cancer sucks. But in the end, if you don't do a good job with either of them, the end result's going to be the same. You have a little bit more control, well, actually probably a lot more control over diabetes, but it's all consuming, right? Like, I probably don't go much more than 10 minutes where I don't at least think, like, what's my blood sugar? Like, I haven't looked at my blood sugar. What's going on? Like, in every decision you make, right? Like, okay, I'm going to eat, but I'm going for a ride in a couple hours. Like, whereas like with cancer, and my thoughts process is changing a little bit on this now that it is a little bit more chronic and not going away. But, like when I was first just doing, like, had surgery absolutely sucked. Post-surgery sucked even more. But like, then I was just going in for immunotherapy once a month, right? So you kind of go in, you get the treatment, and then you wouldn't think about it for another month, right? Like, you kind of, you go about life a little bit. Whereas,
Carly, I got to tell you something. It isn't often that I get bummed out by things, but that...
Sorry. I'm usually a very positive person. I don't want to bum you out.
As the parent of a child with type 1 diabetes who's just embarking on her young life, that really fucking kicked me in the stomach, I have to tell you. Thanks, Carly.
I'm just here to bring joy.
I appreciate you being honest about it.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting perspective. Now, may I ask you, if the cancer was going to take you 3 months from now, for sure, you'd say, I'd rather get rid of the cancer?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I mean, I just didn't want people who can't hear nuance to get upset. That's all.
Yeah. No. Again, it's kind of, the fact that this is not going away as quickly, it becomes a little bit more of a bigger deal and a little bit more emotionally time consuming and stuff like that itself. So, that perspective, is evolving.
Yeah.
Shall we say, but yeah, like they're different mindsets.
Have you had a big, if I'm not here anymore, conversation with your husband?
Not really. Like, I think, so I'm generally relatively positive. I don't do a lot of research, like kind of my doctor's like, oh yeah, we'll just have this surgery and you're just going to do this treatment and whatever. And so I'm just I've gone about thinking I'm going to be fine and just not done much research. I guess still am reading a book, and like there was one section on cancer and I was like, oh, this isn't doing well for my emotional health. And I did, I shared like one paragraph I read to my husband, and the next morning he woke up and he's like, you have to stop reading that book, because he didn't sleep the entire night.
He's like, listen, I read it and it's upsetting. Well, I mean, listen, I think that's it's like, I can't believe Texas. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? It's a state. It's big. Isn't it huge?
The biggest city in Texas.
I think it's bigger than a lot of countries. Like you would think get a nice rock solid internet connection, but neither here nor there.
Yeah.
I get the idea that the cancer's like, do the thing, move forward, right? Like we do the thing, we test later, we move forward. It's the only way to live with that, in my opinion. My mom lived a time, but a short time after her cancer was removed, and like she got to ring her bell and like it's gone, and then a year and a half later she was gone. But in that time, look at me trying to be upbeat about my mom dying. In that time, I did appreciate that we did the thing is over, we'll set up the next test. Until then, you live like it's not going to happen again. And there was something good about that. Yeah I don't understand how you could live otherwise, to be perfectly honest.
No, well, you can't. Like, and some people do, right? Like, I guess, you see it in the diabetes community, you see it in the cancer community, right? Like, cancer came back and like, okay, I probably need to talk to someone. So kind of got a therapist, and, first meeting, he was type 1 diabetic and has been type 1 diabetic for like 35 years. So I'm like, okay, him and I, we're each other's people. So kind of got along right from the beginning. But like both of us, we kind of were talking about that. It's like how I am not diabetic. I have type 1 diabetes, right? Like, and so it's kind of across everyone. Like some people just internalize whatever's happening to them and make it part of their identity. And like, I'm not saying one way is
right or wrong
at all, but it's, like it's kind of how you, so like that's kind of part of me. And like, I guess I'm saying like, diabetes is all consuming, but I still like, my lifestyle hasn't changed, like I haven't stopped drinking. I, still eat carbs. Like,
you're going to live the way
haven't
you
given up cookies. Like, it's, like my life is exactly the same as it was before. And
how many visits with a therapist until you ask him if he's had sex with your husband?
That's the next one.
Hey, big, listen, I don't think I can tell you any more of my secrets till I double check on this.
Yeah.
Rugby guy, big dude. You don't know him, do you?
Yeah.
He's like the Johnny Appleseed to type 1 diabetes, your husband.
Yeah.
He's going to find this funny, right? Because he's big and you, you can reach me through an interstate, so I'm not worried.
You should see the stuff that he sends me on Instagram, like the reels that he sends me. Yeah.
Good. I don't want to open my front door one day and like this giant man sitting in front of me, and I'm going to go, oh, you're going to be Carly's husband, yes? I'll just tell him that story about the can dancer, loosen him right up. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Carly, is there anything we haven't talked about that you want to that I haven't brought out of the conversation?
No, I think that's kind of, that covered it. Like, it was, I guess just one kind of clear, like that every system's a little different. And it's just, I find kind of when I'm listening to someone from Canada talking about the system versus the States, there's always kind of a bit of a, I don't know, cognitive dissonance. Is that the right term? Like that I struggle with. And it's just, the system, it's a little different and interesting, managing both.
Yeah. So if someone comes on and starts saying like, oh, I'm in Canada and everything went great, part of you is like, it ain't like that everywhere, sister. Like that kind of feeling, like just makes you feel like that wasn't my experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think kind of people like in Canada, we don't like, until I was here, I didn't appreciate some of the, the positives of the system down here and some of the how some of it is a little bit more proactive and preventative versus, like in Canada, like, unfortunately, like, and it's part of the system, but like, there's not a lot of preventative stuff. It's more like just how do we manage what's already happened?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much everywhere, though. Like, if you're lucky enough to be working on preventative care, you're you're doing it yourself to some degree, and or bringing in doctors who you're paying cash to here that are helping you with stuff like that. Like if, I don't know if they're,
Yeah.
I don't know if most of them are, even allowed to like listen to you if you come in and say, hey, I'd like to I need you to help me manage some preventative maintenance. But that'd be interesting. Why don't one of you go into a general practitioner and say, I want to preventatively do something here. Can you help me? And watch the doctor go, yeah, sure, but we can't bill your insurance. So that sucks. It really does. By the way, I love Canadian Danger Penis so much that I'm wondering, can I just like make it P like, I don't know, ampersand, like NIS, or would that be okay?
Yeah, I don't know.
Such a good title.
Yeah.
Or what if I called it Canadian Danger and then a different P word, like a more acceptable one? Then the first thing I said when the episode came on was like, look, guys, this episode's really called Canadian Danger Penis, but I couldn't put that. Yeah. I couldn't put that in the title. I'll probably do something like that.
Got to be another like. And of course, in the moment, I'm blanking on any other term for the.
Oh, for the penis?
For a penis, but like, is there like some other like?
Carly, I know for fun. Why don't you name all the words you know for penis right now?
Yeah.
The guy can bleep them out. What comes to mind? Go ahead.
Well, you said magic wand, like the shrimp boat. I'm going to, what's that? Grumpy Old Men at the end of Grumpy Old Men. Have you ever seen that movie?
Grumpy Old Men? How old are you? What the hell?
It was with, what's his name? Like John Lennon and Walter Lithgow and stuff. Like
you got that so wrong.
Guys.
Walter Matthau.
Yeah.
What did you say? Yeah. What did you just say?
Is that right? Is that what it is?
Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon. I believe you said John Lennon. Did you say John Lennon?
I did just say John. Yeah.
Okay.
Wrong one. Wrong.
All right.
Wrong.
That was awesome. I did some, I used my Google fingers. Member, Phallus. Phallus could work. Canadian Danger Phallus. Oh, yeah. That's what we're going to do. Also, manhood, organ, shaft, tool, genitalia, private part, masculinity, rod, package, pecker, Johnson, Willie, and junk. That's what came up for me.
All right. That sounds pretty standard.
Yeah. None of the dirty ones came up.
No.
Yeah,
but see, there you go.
Yeah.
Canadian Danger Junk?
No.
Danger, yeah.
Phallus.
Johnson?
Let's go Phallus.
No.
Because the P's there and then one
Phallus, yeah.
Yeah, and private part would be weird.
Yeah.
I'll do Phallus in the title, and then everybody will come in and I'll let them know I just had to do that for the title, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, there we go. I love it.
You've brought a lot to this podcast. When I look back over this thing when I'm done, I'm going to remember this moment. I wonder how long I'll do this for. How long have you been listening?
So I started during COVID. Like I was kind of like, I needed to get out of the house, work from home. And so I wasn't big into podcasts at all. I didn't listen to podcasts at all at that time. I'm like, oh, maybe this will be a good place to learn about diabetes. And so I just kind of Googled diabetes podcasts and landed on yours.
Wow.
And just started listening and haven't stopped.
2019, 2020?
2020.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Thank you. So I think I can
probably
keep...
summer 20. Summer 2020.
Summer. Okay. I think I could keep this going. I think I could do it another 10 years. Like for me personally, like I could, like once I get into my 60s, like I'm going to be like, listen, I'm just whatever money I've been able to scrape up. I'm going to fuck off with it now and be done. But I think I could do this for a decade. I think I could make it interesting for a decade. So that's my goal is 10 more years, 20 years total. Like at the end at my funeral, someone's, what's that?
Well, and in the end, like we're like, it's just creating a community, right? And people sharing stories about, their own experiences that we're all experiencing. So
yeah, it really is. Listen, I'm very proud of the whole thing, like how I see it helping people every day. And it's a great outlet for my stupidity. So that's awesome. And, like people come on and tell stories that you just don't hear anymore. Like, listen, I don't know what we talked about today, but at one point you said, I think I'd rather keep cancer than diabetes. And I think that's a thing worth hearing and considering if you're out there listening. You know what I mean? Like, I do agree that you have to live like it's not there, diabetes, and that you have to minimize it as much as you can, all that stuff, and try not to let it overtake your life. But the truth of the matter is that, when Carly came on and said, if you could give one of these away, she said what she said, so you got to keep that in mind while you're living with it or parenting with it or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, this was somehow a bummer and fun at the same time. I'm so sad about
just go back to Just go back to the penises, and yeah, we'll make it end on a high note.
On a high note.
Or
You just broke up, but I was so sure you were going to say
a bit strategic in my.
Oh, you just broke up, Carly. I was so positive you were going to say on a high note or on a hard note, but I wasn't sure where you were going with that. So.
Hard note. Yeah, that was.
Is that where you're going? Oh, you and I would get along really well. You and I would get along very well, wouldn't we? Look at us. You'd be like, "Oh, he's about to say something stupid." I know.
So. I think so.
Yeah, I know he's about to say something stupid because I'm already thinking the stupid
and now
thing.
there.
You are breaking up like it is so infuriating. All right, I don't know what's wrong with Texas, but I hope they fix it.
Oh.
And, yeah, you were just gone. Hello, Carly.
Hello, I'm here. Yeah, it's,
Hey.
breaking up.
I don't know what's wrong with Texas.
Houston,
Houston, we have a problem.
technology.
Am I wrong?
Yes, Houston, we really do have a problem.
Also, I could definitely call
we're
it
not.
that.
You're not wrong.
Carly, I'm going to let you go so that I don't bang my head on this desk while people are listening, okay?
Yeah, no, that's great.
Hold on one second. I'd like to thank the Eversense 365 for sponsoring this episode of the Juicebox podcast and remind you that if you want the only sensor that gets inserted once a year and not every 14 days, you want the Eversense CGM. EversenseCGM.com/Juicebox. 1 year, one CGM. A huge thanks to Omnipod. Not just my longest sponsor, but my first one. Omnipod.com/Juicebox. If you love the podcast and you love tubeless insulin pumps, this link is for you. Omnipod.com/Juicebox. I can't thank you enough for listening. Please make sure you're subscribed or following in your audio app. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode of the Juicebox podcast. If you or a loved one was just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and you're looking for some fresh perspective, the Bold Beginnings series from the Juicebox podcast is a terrific place to start. That series is with myself and Jenny Smith. Jenny is a CDCES, a registered dietitian, and a type 1 for over 35 years. And in the Bold Beginnings series, Jenny and I are going to answer the questions that most people have after a type 1 diabetes diagnosis. The series begins at episode 698 in your podcast player, or you can go to juiceboxpodcast.com and click on Bold Beginnings in the menu. Hey, what's up, everybody? If you've noticed that the podcast sounds better and you're thinking, like, how does that happen? What you're hearing is Rob at Wrong Way Recording doing his magic to these files. So if you want him to do his magic to you, wrongwayrecording.com. You got a podcast? You want somebody to edit it? You want Rob.